At the age of 16, concert pianist André Watts stunned the music world with his now legendary debut with Leonard Bernstein and the New York Philharmonic. In the last 3 decades, he has performed with the world's major orchestras to become America's foremost concert pianist. And this week, he returns to the New York Philharmonic to celebrate the 30th anniversary of his debut. And we are pleased to have him here. Welcome.
Thank you.
30 years, is it?
Yes, makes you feel old when you start hearing those numbers.
Yeah, it's a classic story, actually. I mean, was it Glenn Gould? Who was it that couldn't go on?
It was Glenn Gould, yes.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, what happened?
Well, I had played on a Young People's Concert with Bernstein and the orchestra, and then a couple of weeks later, he canceled, and they had a meeting on a Tuesday morning and decided, well, who will we get? And Frank Milburn, I think it was, said, oh, remember that kid? Why don't we get him? And so it's Tuesday morning. I got a call in Philadelphia. They said, you want to play the list Thursday night and Friday afternoon?
And then the rest is,
So
this is the 30th anniversary of that. Yeah. You're going to be, what, February 11th, 12th, 13th, and 16th?
That's
You'll
right,
be
yes.
With the Philharmonic. Why the piano for you? What was it about that instrument that was?
Actually, I'm sort of, it's a little bit my fault in the sense that my mother said you have to learn some kind of music in the same way that you have to learn to read and write and do math and all that. And she wanted me to...
part of every young man's education.
Yes, right. Yes, music is useful, and you'll enjoy it later. So she said, learn the violin. Yeah. And there was a piano in the house, and I studied the violin, and we had a dog, and the dog used to sit next to the music stand and sort of howl, you know, the way they bay at the moon, that kind of thing, while I practiced. And so somehow it came about that I said, well, if I just have to do the music, could I do the piano instead of the violin? And she said yes, and that was it.
And you loved it. I mean, it was.
I liked it. I liked the sound. I was lucky. I didn't have to have much discipline in the first year of my studying the piano, and I would hold the pedal down for pages and pages of music and just let this mushroom sound, you know, go, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How do you know that you're a child prodigy?
Oh, I don't know if you do, and I'm not so sure that I was, so I'm not sure I'm qualified to. Yeah. No, because when I was 9 years old, I played with the Philadelphia Orchestra, and that year, and every year at that time, I don't know if they still do it, you know, 3 children would play every year. Yeah. And in the year that I played, I think the youngest child was 6, and they played sort of the same way I did. I don't know that any of us was much better than the other. You know, children don't have, when the gift is there, children don't seem to have the complexes.
And the gift is what?
The gift is, well, the gift is very different for different people, and it's multifaceted. I suppose to try to get to the core of it, the gift is having a response, a very personal response to the music that you can transmit readily and freely without blockage, without hiding anything of yourself to listeners.
Why is Schubert closest to your heart?
Oh, homework, oh my God. Why is Schubert closest? Because it's, I don't know, on the non-intellectual level for me, it feels the best, ultimately, when I'm playing it.
In where?
It feels like salve
in your
the
whole soul.
Yes. Yeah. But in a more objective way, I like it because it's quite guileless. It's quite open, and innocent it doesn't have enough, wide enough connotation. It's just open, clear music.
Yeah. Have you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish as a musician?
Oh, well, you put it very carefully. That's interesting, yes. Well, to answer to that question is no, as a musician, not in the musical sense. Career, it's sort of okay.
Yeah, right, of course. Yeah.
Musically, no, that never... On the one hand, it's a blessing, and on the other hand, it's a curse. Yeah. You know, you look over there and you say, you see, musically, if I could get to that place, I might be quite content. And you get there, but in the process of having gotten there, then you're looking at that place over there.
Yeah. And it's always interesting to me that in people of great accomplishment, whether it's in culture or athletic or academic, the more they know, the more they realize they don't know. You know, and you almost have to go halfway there to realize the rest of the distance to go. Yes. And the higher you climb, the more you realize you can see further.
Sometimes very depressing.
Yeah, it is. You never wanted to compose?
Oh, yes. Oh, certainly. It's a combination of fortitude and self-belief and all that. I'm not so sure that I have anything to say, but the only way to find that out is to start putting some notes on paper, which I haven't done.
Yeah, but you just
It's obviously not a, I mean,
Yeah.
one could say that if
No,
it
it's
were the
obviously not
strongest
important to you.
thing, you would do it. Yeah.
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 How different is it to be in a recording studio and be before a live audience?
Well, it's very different. For some people, one or the other is more comfortable.
Which is for you?
Oh, audience.
Performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, people.
Because you feel...
I don't know why.
It
In a way,
elevates you, it magic, it makes you...
it's surprising because, after all, in the recording studio, if you want security, it's much safer. It should be okay. You can redo, and it's comfortable. But it's a hurdle for me to get past the sterility or the non-special, non-event quality of it. And that there's no one really to... I mean, I don't look at the audience when I play, but they're there, and you come out, and you acknowledge them, and you sit down, and you have some sense of, when you're at the keyboard, making the music go like this out to the listeners. And there are a couple of mics there. It doesn't feel so good for me.
No, it doesn't.
So that's very personal.
Yeah. And when you... Does it get easier for you?
Well, I think that the really honest answer to the question is sure, it must get easier. It doesn't feel like it. Yeah. I mean, I get very nervous when I play. I suppose it's easier just from the years of experience. It's very hard for me to put myself back in playing first performances when I was 17, 18, 19. I claim that I remember, but I don't think I really do, because now I have other concerns. So it is easier. It just doesn't feel easier.
Yeah. I know this is naive, but the technique, do you once just master the technique and then everything else is what? In other words, is your skill, your technique, your
physical part.
Technical, physical part,
well,
that's no better than it was 10 years ago?
Oh, well, it's...
the interpretive part is different.
Yes, it is. It is, first of all, that will not stay unless you constantly deal with it.
Yeah. But that's maintaining a level of it. But does it grow because of...
Yes, because the real technique means, and this is not my quote, I've stolen this from Leon Fleisch or Schnabel.
Well, I
want
to talk about Leon Fleisch in a minute.
Real technique means producing at will what you have in the inner ear. Yeah. That's real technique. And so you need to, it needs to be increased and fine-tuned and honed and controlled and taken care of, the more your inner horizon is big. The more ideas you have, you need more, you suddenly realize this is insufficient. That's what keeps you working.
Yeah. You mentioned Leon Fleisch. He was a mentor, was he not?
Yes.
Yeah. What did he give you?
Well, he gave me many things. In retrospect now, I think that the biggest gift that I had from Fleischer was that I don't think I even noticed it at the time, but I think he recognized the complication of having a full-blown career, walking out in front of thousands of people regularly, with some inner thing saying, listen to me because this is worthwhile, and then the next day going into the studio saying, please help me because I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I mean, that combination is very difficult. And he knew that because he also had a career and kept studying and studied at the same time. And so I think he handled me in a very... he once said to me after I had played some Mozart that was physically okay and musically kind of, I hadn't put any thought into it, and I got very depressed at the end of the session, and he said, well, all right, look, go home and play the Prokofiev Toccata. You know, one of those knuckle busters. Yeah, and I said, but I never learned the Prokofiev Toccata. He assumed that I knew how to play it. I'd never learned it. So he was very aware of the difficult position I was in, and he was very supportive.
Can you teach? Are you a good teacher?
I think I'm a good teacher, yes, and I like to do it. I mean, I'm not so sure if I would be a good teacher if I took over your musical development. You know, if I were your only tutor.
That would be impossible.
Yeah, well, it would be a challenge. It could be interesting.
Yeah, a challenge it would be. But
no, I do classes, master classes. Right. I'm not sure that I don't have the time, and I'm not so sure if I would feel secure about taking over someone's musical development solely myself.
I wonder if someone like Horowitz could have taught.
Well, he had some pupils.
He did?
Yeah.
Were they good? Do we know?
Well, I think they were good. I don't know how the teaching was.
Right.
Teaching is very difficult, I think.
And it's not just a question of if you are the world's greatest pianist, whether you can...
No. I think the biggest thing is if the more your ego is involved when you teach, the worse it is. And finding out every person is different. You have to look at them, and if I want you and the gentleman on the camera to get the same result out of the same piece, I have to figure out how I can get that message to you. And if I do it the same to both of you, it won't work. One of you won't
because we're
get it.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very important, and I think I enjoy it. So I have a good time when I do classes.
What are you going to play at on February 11th?
Second concerto of Brahms, B flat.
Why did you choose that?
Well, that's a more random. I don't know.
Just random.
You look at a number of things. What did I last play when I was with the Philharmonic? Yeah. What does it seem it would be nice to play? What is not a conflict for them that nobody else is playing at the moment? And this Valery Gergiev, the conductor for these concerts, and I've played this piece together in San Francisco. So it just seemed like a nice choice.
You were born in Germany.
In Nuremberg, yeah.
Yeah, and your father was an American
soldier,
and your mother was Hungarian.
Right.
Yeah. And how did you have said, did you consider yourself both black and white, have you said? And
well,
how does, of course, because you're two parents, but how does that affect your own sense of, how has that made you?
Well, the simplest, I'm being a little flippant about it because we don't have so much time, but the simplest thing I could say is it allows me to take pot shots at both races with, impunity.
Or to understand both races then, to be in touch
hopefully,
with.
Hopefully, a little bit. Yeah, I listened to Jimmy Carter on your show a little while ago, and I was again taken. I've heard that kind of line before, but I was taken with his comment about you can legislate, racial things, the segregation, integration, and so forth and so on, but you cannot legislate people's hearts. Yeah. And so, with my racial position, I can sort of, say yay and nay to both sides.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks
nice to be here.
Good to see
you.
Be
well.
We'll be right back. Margaret Heller's here, and we'll talk. She's a renowned astrophysicist, and we'll talk about mapping the universe. Take a look at this film segment, and she'll explain what it all means when she's back.